Well, hey there, colleague. How in the world are you doing? Why should we care about student motivation? Why? Why should you care? Why should I care? Why should my colleague down the hall care? Why should parents care? Why should students care? I want to give you 3 reasons today why we should care. Reason number 1, student demotivation is experienced as pain. Emotional, social, spiritual, intellectual pain. That is the experience of student demotivation. Obviously, this is true for the individual student. I want to put forward to you something that I think is unassailable. Students never want to be demotivated. There is not a single student in the universe who wakes up and says, I'm looking forward to really hating school today. I want to not want to do the work of learning in math. No one thinks that because the human soul is set up for motivation. And when it's lacking, then pain results. But it's also painful for you. It's painful for me to work with a student who's deeply demotivated. It's painful for parents and guardians to have a child who's deeply demotivated about school. So that's reason number 1. Just for the sake of compassion, the sake of love and kindness, we want to care about student motivation. Reason number 2 is that you can't do school without student motivation. What the heck do I mean? Here's what school is for. School exists to promote the long-term flourishing of young people, specifically by advancing those young people toward mastery in an array of disciplines that they likely would not grow toward mastery in were it not for school. Now, I know that's kind of like a lot, but if you just think about what I'm saying here, it's all there. This is why parents send their students to school. This is what they are hoping for. This is why students keep coming to school. It's not just because they're legally obligated to do so. There's this deep belief in our culture, and I think it's a good belief, but it's a sacred one. It's a heavy one that by sending my child to school, by coming to school as a student, I'm working toward the advancement of my long-term flourishing. And then we as the school, we have to know, we have to remember, we can't get amnesia that we specifically promote long-term flourishing by advancing students toward mastery in things that outside of school they likely won't. So mathematics is something that, except for a very, very small percentage of the population, you're probably not going to be playing around with outside of school. World history, one of the courses I've spent my career teaching, probably not going to spend a bunch of time with that outside of school unless you're really, really into the topic. Literature, physical education. But the problem with what I just said is that word mastery. You cannot, as a human being, get better at something, grow in your competence with something, become more masterful in a discipline without doing work with care, Now, you don't have to motivate a student to do work. You can coerce them into doing that. You can wave a stick around. Hey, you're going to fail the class. You can dangle a carrot in front of them. Hey, who wants brownies if everyone turns in, their homework assignment? But you cannot coerce a human being into caring. It is not possible to coerce care. This is an amazing aspect, a feature, not a bug, of the human soul. It cannot be forced to care. Care can only be cultivated. This is like an immovable aspect of our autonomy as human beings. So, that's why we need to care about student motivation. Student motivation being the presence of care, because if I don't get good with this aspect of reality, if I don't partner well with this fact that I can't make my students care, but I can help them, then I'm going to be really frustrated in my job and get much poorer results, which will really frustrate me because I, like every teacher I've ever met, got into this job hoping to, make a difference. And then finally, reason 3 why we should care about student motivation is that it is not immovable. You have never met a student whose motivational disposition inside of their heart is set in stone. Never. Now, I bet you've met some students, just like I have, who are very, 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 very presently demotivated when it comes to school, detached from the purpose of school, seeing no value in it, seeing that teachers are not worth trusting, seeing that they can't get better through effort, seeing that they can't succeed, seeing that they don't fit. Yes, those human beings exist, and because of reason number 1, we should have compassion for these students, not bitterness or resentment towards them, because no one picks to get to that place with school. Okay, but the research is super clear that these inner beliefs can be influenced, the beliefs beneath student motivation. And really, that's where we need to go next, is what is at the base, the root of student motivation, of student care. And it really does come down to, I am confident of this, bet my career on it, it comes down to 5 key beliefs. And when these beliefs are present, then a student will tend to care about the work of learning at hand. And when these beliefs are absent, or their opposites are present, then the student will tend to have a very hard time caring one lick about the work of learning at hand. So that's why we should care about student motivation, and I hope that that's also a good case for why the 5 key beliefs approach that I've developed over years of nerding out and researching and writing and traveling is a valid use of your time, valid place to grow in expertise. It's not just some gimmick guy thing. It's one teacher saying, okay, I've got to get to the bottom of this question, and here's my answer. So that's why we should care about student motivation. Take care.